Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where everybody's tuning in from. Welcome to season 2, episode 6 of Digitized Live. Ken, how are you today, sir?
I am all right. I have had an interesting morning where I tried to not do anything this morning and failed miserably. It was a terrible success, right? If that's a thing. So I'm just now my brain is starting to come online. So I'm looking forward to engaging this discussion, and perhaps as usual, you'll get me revved up this morning, Kyle. It's one of those days.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been, with the shift of the digital world, in shift to the digital world. So for those that are seeing this for the first time, welcome. We are Digitized and Digitized Live. This is our show with myself, Kyle Hermans, and Kent Langley. We have been talking for several months pre-COVID all around the incentives as well as the opportunities for unlocking your digital potential as a business and as a human being, meaning that as we continue to advance rapidly at an exponential rate towards even integrating more technology into our lives, and as we're moving online, as we're finding more effective digital versions of our old analog world, we put the show together for you to be able to address on a weekly basis the opportunities ahead of you, to shift your thinking, to shift your energy, to shift the opportunity for you to start being able to get the tools and the ideas and the methodologies to be able to successfully integrate a digitized life into your life. Whether you like it or not, it is happening all around us. It is happening for us, though not to us. Our big thing is to proactively move you into your potential, move you into the opportunity of being empowered. And so, with this, welcome to season 2, episode 6. And again, just before we dig in, please go back through the old videos, in the past videos on our YouTube channel. We have been putting up content almost daily for some time now, several months, and it addresses a whole bunch of things, very meta ideas about digitization, all the way down to practical and incredible tools that will empower and fast track your business for success in the digital world. So give us a like, subscribe, send it to a friend. Please, we want to get the word out. This is completely a free resource for you guys to do what you want with it. Kent and I are spending our weeks immersed heavily into this topic and heavily into this world. And we're bringing new insights and new realizations and breakthroughs that are happening in real time with our clients, real time as we're problem solving with technology. This is where Kent is the genius. He's always experimenting with something during the show. So you'll be able to see stuff happening in live time. But welcome to Digitized. Welcome to the new viewers. Thank you to all the loyal viewers that have been watching us. Again, the other thing is put your comments in chat, send us feedback, all those kinds of things. Ken, where are we live today? Are we just live on YouTube? Are we going to go live on other sources today?
We are currently live on YouTube, which is, as everybody knows, kind of our primary channel. We are then restreaming, if you like, or distributing also the feed out to my Twitter channel on which is Periscope.
Hey,
So that would
Twitter.
be, yep, hi Twitter. That would be twitter.com/Kent Langley. And then we also are streaming on Facebook today, which would be my Facebook account. It's my personal feed, so the distribution on that one's not particularly broad. But I think that these experiments with the streaming into multiple destinations have actually been really successful. We've gotten a lot of engagements, a lot of feedback. So, Kyle, I think we're probably ready to start also streaming to the digitized channels in those locations. We just used
Amazing.
my accounts as I was the guinea pig,
Yeah.
and we've made plenty of funny mistakes and had our share of fun live on the show. So I think we're really ready to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the most interesting thing that I've seen, Kyle, is the engagement patterns are completely different across the different channels. I mean, they're just fundamentally different.
What are
I
some of the insights that you get in there, Kent? I mean, as we're looking back at data, I know we've been looking at, but you're also because they're also on your accounts. Like, what have you noticed for any of the viewers who are intrigued with where do I stream? Who should I stream to? Should I do all? Should I focus? what are you noticing from your audiences? The types of audiences, maybe the types of responses by channel, if you're open to sharing.
Yo, sure. So all the channels that I've been testing to review are Periscope on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, and we've been doing a lot of experiments lately on LinkedIn Live. Now, the LinkedIn Live experiments are related to an organization called OpenEXO. So if you want to see those experiments, you'll just need to search for OpenEXO on LinkedIn and look. So we're not streaming Digitized Live to LinkedIn because hey LinkedIn, you haven't given us access yet. So you really should fix that because we produce a fun show. But what I'm seeing is that on Facebook we get much higher immediate engagement typically on the stream, and more people with a lot more follow on. So the show goes, we get some engagement, people may make a comment, we might interact with that comment, but then it lives longer, so it has a longer tail. On Twitter, we're live when we're live, and when it's off, it's off. There is no further engagement at all, usually. Nobody's going back to Twitter and looking at our past videos. And that's where YouTube really shines as a primary channel, is because it does a great job of maintaining your archived content at a very fair price of near zero. And the reality is that that's where we're continuing to build what I think is the core of our stable audience. Now, the experiments on LinkedIn Live that I've been doing for OpenEXO are fascinating because the immediate engagement we get in that particular channel for that particular account is it's orders of magnitude bigger than what we see on some of the other channels, even for the same account. Not talking about Digitized, we're talking about that particular account, OpenEXO. And I believe that this is audience matching, right? The audience that we're speaking to the most is simply more present and more engaged on LinkedIn than they are on YouTube. So I think that to sum all that up, stream to where your audience is. This is critical, and make that your goal to get them where they are, because they're not going to switch channels generally for you.
And how, and Ken, just jumping in there, how would you, for somebody who's trying to identify where their audience is, do you have suggestions on it? I know I can jump in and throw a few things, but it's like, as we're learning about these different platforms and trying to have a presence on so many channels at the same time, which is literally like a full-time job to curate content, to make sure you're responding and connecting. When you say go to where your audiences are you talking about where the most audience interaction happens, or is the audience you talking about the audience that is connected to the type of business you're doing, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. Actually, I think it's all three. But what I'm looking for is interactivity, meaning they're watching, and then engagement, meaning they're taking an action. Because one of the and then on a third point is, yes, I mean, we've been doing also, we're not streaming to Twitch today because all of the Twitch streaming we've been doing for this particular channel has not connected really in any way with the Twitch audience. And it kind of makes sense because, Twitch is owned by Microsoft, but it's gamer focused. And this is not a gaming channel. However, I see very successful cooking shows.
We're gaming business right now.
There's that. I see very successful cooking shows, though, on Twitch. So I thought, well, if you can cook on Twitch, you could talk about enterprise on Twitch. But so far, the engagement there's been really, really low. So I want people to see, but then I want them to engage, because the key to all of this, and what's different about this from sitting in front of your television in your living room in the evening, is you can you can engage with the speaker, the host, like us on this show right now. If someone wants to go into the YouTube chat or the Twitter or YouTube, Periscope, YouTube or Facebook right now and say, hey guys, what do you think about, we're here, we're watching, we'll answer you live right now. That's cool, and that's really unique. And in fact, although we're not set up today to do it, one of the experiments I want to run, Kyle, to take that to a whole other level, is have our audience basically call in. So it's the same way you connect to the show right now. Why not queue up some audience?
Well, is there a way to do that today? I mean, is there a way to invite somebody
Um,
to do it? I mean, I know we get the chat responses. I know we
yeah.
get, well, I know this is putting pressure because we tend to, this is a beautiful thing. For all those that are watching and for all those that are watching the replay, one of the things that you will notice in the other replays that you will watch throughout is that Kent and I have some structure to the content that we talk about, but what we are coming in is free flowing. The goal for us, and we had this conversation just before, is that we're trying to keep these programs as relevant and as up to date as possible. So it's almost like a vlog for us, which is, hey, we get together this week. And this was all born out of a masterminding sessions that Kent and I had. And we realized, like, wow, when we mastermind together, imagine if you just put cameras on or people came in and watched. We never know who you're going to impact, but we do know that based on what is happening in our businesses and our personal lives and the kinds of questions people ask us, this is one way for us to just push record and actually be testing things out real time, talking about real case studies, talking about real problems we're solving, talking about ideas that we have that we go out and then try and realize and manifest. And then along the way, we break stuff. We have to learn about stuff. We have to, toggle with the technology. We've got to figure things out. And we're doing that all in real time. So even some of the shows that you will watch that are replays, and we also haven't gone and like edit out the messy parts. We've actually just left it clean. So what you see is like experimenting with new platforms, alternatives to Zoom. You'll see us going into virtual reality areas as well, which is where like virtual conferences might be going. You'll see us using different types of tools that are there for facilitation and that are being used inside of organizations more effectively. You'll see us going into strategies and techniques about how to optimize your energy and your facilitation and your online presence. We'll go into personal stories. All these things are happening in real time. So as I'm saying this, what's kind of fun is that we'll get an idea in the moment and then we'll experiment with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so for those of you that are watching, I hope it's entertaining, because what we do as we're doing this, and Kent's a master at this, is just talking you through what is happening in real time. So if anybody's trying to experiment, it's very important. Now, the other reason why we'll give you a real kind of pull back the curtain and tell you what's happening behind the scenes here is that with Digitized, we also produce other organizations' events. We actually help them curate extraordinary live event experiences. And we're doing it a lot of it is through the structure that you're seeing happening right here. So one of the very interesting things about this show is that we're experimenting in real time, because if you can master kind of making mistakes and breaking things or experimenting in real time live without it being perfectly curated all the way, you actually get faster and quicker at responding not only to digital mishaps that will happen for everybody, but it's actually also a really powerful skill to have as you are digitizing your business, because stuff's always not going to work out. There's so many different things going on at the same time. Kent is pushing 1,000 buttons and moving a million levers, but it's but this is all for your empowerment and to unlock your potential. So Kent, are we going to play with something?
Well, thank you for the air cover. While you were doing that, I built a new shot. I'm going to show everybody what it looks like raw with nobody else on it, just for grins. But if I take this shot live,
Awesome.
whoops, I lost myself there. I'll fix
That's
that.
you. You moved into the white abyss.
I can fix that. But the point is that those colored bars down there, that's where we could put a guest. So I need to figure out why I disappeared there. But beyond that, for sure, we could, I believe we could technically bring somebody onto the show. Here, let me try it again. Ooh, that's better.
There we go.
Okay, so this little area down here, where is it? Which hand? I'm
Yes.
not a good weather. Down there, I'm not a good weather person. That empty box down there, if somebody's brave and they want to try this, and I'm getting some chat from my very dear friend of more years than I care to admit, Bill Johnston, asking me right now. He says, are you streaming to all of those networks at once? And Bill, yes, we are. We're streaming to all those networks at once. And if I had accounts on lots of other networks, or if any major broadcast television would like to restream our show, we could give them a link that they could pull it into their own broadcast feeds. So there's so many things we can do. But you know what? If we want to be brave, Kyle, I can try to work up a title. I'll take the empty box off right now, in just case we'll see if we can actually get somebody, and I can post a URL, a unique URL for this show that someone could call in. It is actually like that, a call in, and what will happen to anybody who attempts this is they'll be put into a queue. And then I cannot promise, depending on how many people do it, whether I get you or not. But I can certainly try, Kyle, to bring somebody into the studio. That might be fun. So let me, for
Let's
next
see if
step,
someone's brave enough.
I'm going to create a new title while we're talking that'll have a URL on it. And that URL, for anybody watching, you will have to do it exactly like it's typed. The full URL with the HTTPS and the colon //
I'll tell you what, let's do a live offer as you're sharing about that. For anybody that is brave enough to jump on with us and have a really deep discussion about what's going on in the digitized world, Kent and I will offer you up a 45-minute consulting session on us where we will take you through some of our digitized roadmaps.
Is that how long we've got left today? 45 minutes?
No. I mean, what I mean is offline.
You mean separately? Okay, I got it. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, jump on and we'll have a chat with you about your business as well. Okay. So one of the things as we're doing this, and this might actually be something interesting for the viewer that would potentially like to come on with us, is that what Kent and I were thinking about talking about today, where we would like to go currently, is that, as you know, with so much that's going on in the world, even through COVID, and now with all the real ripping off of the coverings of much overdue systemic change conversations that are necessary all around the world, it's about challenging our beliefs, and it's about challenging our belief systems. Now, we don't want to turn this into a political show, but what we're talking about here is that the concept of challenging your beliefs is challenging your beliefs about what you think is possible and what you could imagine that you would love to experience in life. And one of the ways that we challenge our beliefs is by challenging and questioning, is what we have good enough? Could it be better? Is the way that we're doing something in life, is it ripe for disruption? Meaning, can I unlearn the old habits and patterns that I've had and actually start to experiment with something new? Could I go out and create and play and push the boundaries of what's possible? This is where you are going up and challenging fundamental beliefs, where you are breaking through the biases and judgments that we might have about something. And now what's interesting, as we've done 2 seasons and of the show so far, is that most of the feedback that we're getting, and as we're working with clients that are onboarding into a digitized experience, is that one of the very first things we have to do is help them fundamentally challenge the beliefs of the way they think about their business and what they think about is actually possible in this realm. And so one of the things that we thought to do today is just to riff. It'll be kind of an open free. We don't have any massively curated thoughts here, but what we want to do is bring the learnings about where we're seeing little cracks in the biases or little cracks in the old system, which are actually making way for new ways to think about it. Now, one of them, and I'll just give you a real live example, is exactly what Kent's just been talking about right now, and what one of our viewers just asked of Kent as well, which is, are you streaming to all these platforms? Now, Kent's talked about this in past, we've talked about this in past episodes, but you know, this idea of just one stream, one place, with this idea that if you can kind of connect your switchboard to many different things, instead of just having one group of people to talk to, you can actually now talk to thousands, if not millions, the same way the television broadcasts work. You have that power in your hands to be able to do that when you work the right pathway, the right digital pathway forward for yourself. So one way to challenge your beliefs is when you think about the impact that you want to make, I would almost guarantee that you might not be thinking about it big enough. And one of the challenges here is that you could put a really massive number on the amount of impact you could make on the world because of your ability to stream digitally. So one of the things to go in here, that's just one example, is like start, let's, and for anybody that would like to type in or like, how are you seeing your beliefs challenged right now, and where do you think this could go? What are some of the impact areas? Ken, anything come to mind where you see, and I know you live in this world daily, so I know you're full of ideas, but you're also kind of out there, like you're on the far side, like you're out in the outrageous part most days. But where do you see like that our beliefs are being challenged fundamentally because of the pathway of digitization, and where do you think the next level of possibilities are for people?
We don't go for the small questions here.
No.
So the thing that really strikes me as I'm sort of going day to day, week to week right now, in this very unique moment in human history, is just how resistant to change people can be, and I don't say this is a bad thing. It's a human thing. It's okay, and I find that everybody's still striving for what they previously perceived as normal, and there's this thing that's been setting in called Zoom fatigue. People are really feeling just like, no, gosh, not another Zoom call, please. But the fact is that this is our primary mode. Zoom or any other video conferencing system is now our primary mode of meeting. And so the resistance that I'm seeing is just sort of people are not leaning into that. They're actually rejecting it outright. Even virtual conferences, and I personally have attended 5 or 6 virtual conferences over the last 2 weeks because I really wanted to experience what everybody was doing. And I found myself, in some cases, very resistant to staying engaged, even though I produce virtual shows and virtual conferences for people, and I know what they can be and how to do them. So, yeah, I think that there's this deep-seated human thing about wanting to be in person. We're seeing this in our homes, right in front of our homes, in my neighborhood anyway. People are walking to the end of their driveways, putting down chairs, and sitting there and hoping someone will walk by just to say hi to. I mean, people want that physical contact, but it's not possible right now, and I don't think, or it's not possible at large scales. So I just don't see people at the moment fully accepting where we are. And I'm not saying that we're going to be this way forever. We're moving into more of a hybrid world where the acceptance of the digitization of our human communications has been accelerated dramatically, as forced by COVID-19 to where we are right now. And I don't think it's ever going to return back to where it was. And I don't even know if we know what it's going to look like entirely moving forward. And this is manifest no more real for those of us who are parents than in school. So those are the things that come to my mind with that question, Kyle. It's a big question.
Yeah, it is a big question, and it's amazing. And I think that there's I saw some news this morning that as states open up, there's another spike of things happening. So it's going to be interesting, the sort of ebb and flow of how soon we can balance out the in-person and the connectivity. One thing that I'll share, I was on a really fascinating call this morning with a friend and old innovation colleague who's gone on to do some phenomenal things. She's built a platform called Radical Future, which is, she was always a specialist in deep futuristic trend work. Less just about the technology side of stuff, but it's more around the human behavior and where is society moving, which was kind of an interesting one. What they've done is what she's been doing, always kind of being on the edge of things, is and they were also a system which was very live, very in-person programs and those kinds of things, also having to wrestle like everybody else with the shifts and changes of moving to digital infrastructure. The conversation we had this morning was fascinating because what they're looking to do is curate, and she's done for years, which has been core to her business, is curate this global pool of trend setters and trend followers, meaning like she's had both sides of the coin. People that are actually famous for going out and being really radical and setting a trend, doing something weird and strange with fashion and food and culture, and then those that are observing those people on the edge, and then being able to get all of those data points and then being able to present that to Fortune companies about things to be mindful of in real time, where subculture and mainstream culture are going. Now, one of the things that she landed on was this idea of how do you now bring that digital community together? And this is different from just a Facebook group or join me on my LinkedIn group, like those kinds of curated, or just the like mighty networks or other really cool things that are popping up for you to kind of capture a community. She's talking about how do you actually create a place where this community gets together and as it forms together like a global tribe, is able to actually make more impact. And what we were realizing is that some of these folks we will never meet. Some of them she's never met. They're just people that we've met digitally. They're just people that you've followed on social or that have shown up in magazine articles or in online articles of people that are doing interesting things. Reach out, you connect, you communicate over email, get a call, get a Zoom call, get a virtual call, curate some work together, but you've never actually physically met. Oh. And what we were trying to say is like there's such an interesting thing after years and years, like and we may never ever physically meet ever, yet we're collectively coming together to shape and move either corporate thinking or sometimes industry thinking if the trends land with the right decision maker in a business that has massive distribution capability. And so we were talking about harnessing that and saying, how does one go about, and I know you've been doing that really brilliantly over at EXO, Kent, with your community, but there's a piece here as well, which is she wants it to be more free-flowing, but it's how do you actually connect with people like we're connecting here, or connecting with an audience that we may never see, in order to spark and promote almost like an autonomous, self-empowering way to go out and push the thinking of the planet forward. She was talking about moving the thinking of the planet forward. And I just was really fascinated by the discussion, and also realizing, about to get onto this Digitized show, that for me is challenging a perception of belief that we can affect massive change, and we may never meet each other, but we may have just interacted on a very deep, both spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, and work level. We may have connected very deeply digitally, but we may never meet each other in physical reality, and yet we can affect massive amounts of change together. So that's one thing just this morning, which I was just really interested in, this piece of how we challenge beliefs, and also how we challenge how we can get stuff done with each other.
You know, it's a really interesting thing. I had this crazy experience at one of the last large conferences I went to last year, where a colleague of mine that I have been working with for years, and I ran into him at the conference physically. I'm like, oh, hey, it was Kevin. Kevin, if you're out there, hi. Kevin Allen, the Chief Community Officer over at OpenEXO. I said, hey, Kevin, how you doing? We just started talking, just like we had just dropped off from a conversation previously. And then Kevin goes, this is the first time we've ever met in person. And I said, no, it's not. I mean, that came out of my mouth faster than I could even think about it. And he goes, no, it is. It is really the first time. And so I said, that's insane. I do not feel that way. I feel as if we've hung out, we've had drinks, we've worked together. I mean, amazing. By the way, we actually have a guest. We actually have a guest.
Fantastic.
So
and for anybody listening, my family are
that's okay.
Are transitioning. Yeah, we always have on the show. It's a family show. So,
I'm gonna see if I can't grab our guest. It's someone I've known for a long time. So hang on and let's see what happens here, Kyle. So you'll just, when we get them on, we'll see if it's let's see who we get here. Hang on.
Great, and I just want to also shout out one real quick. The Escalate.
So
you're bringing in. I just want to give a quick.
I'm going to bring in a guest. You do that, okay, and then I'll transition us in after you do that.
Perfect. So just a quick shout out to the really cool, kind companies, and one in particular, Escalate Group, for the shout outs that you give us weekly on LinkedIn. If you're watching, thank you very much. We really appreciate the constant distribution of the work that we're doing here at Digitized. So thank you to the Escalate Group.
Awesome. All right, well, here we go. Let's see if this thing works. Bill Johnston, can you hear us? Is he frozen? Look at him. He looks very handsome there. What's going on? Let's try again. Look at that. I lost him right at the last second. Let's try one more time. Hey, Bill, can you hear us?
Hi, Bill.
Hey, gents. Thanks for letting me crash.
Amazing. Call in worked.
Congratulations.
So you are officially the first guest we've ever brought on to Digitized Live. So let me take 1 second to tell everybody who Bill is. So Bill is my friend. I've known him literally my entire life, and I didn't even know that he was watching the show today. So that was a really nice surprise anyway. But Bill is also one of the world's foremost experts on community, building communities, managing communities, maintaining communities. He's got his own organization called Structure 3C, and any chance I get, I hang out with Bill. Lately, that's been harder. But Bill, welcome to the show. Meet Kyle Hermans. Kyle is my partner and co-host here at Digitized and Digitized Live, and we're really happy you could make it work. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, such a pleasure to meet you, Bill. Not sure if we lost him or if he's frozen, but such a pleasure to meet you.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bill has joined us from a Wi-Fi connection, and sometimes we have those challenges with Wi-Fi. Hey,
okay,
Hey, that's okay, Bill. You're back. I did probably the best intro of you've ever had in your whole life, and I said, meet Kyle, and I told them all about your work and your community chops. And quick story. Bill and I, one of our first communities we ever built together, we worked on a project many years ago now called techrepublic.com, which was one of the world's first vertically integrated communities online. And it was he can tell a little bit about that actually if he wants to introduce himself. But then Kyle, you'll have to repose the question you asked me earlier to Bill. I'd love to know what he thinks.
That's right. Welcome, Bill. It's a pleasure to have you.
Having me. I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all, which is hilarious. So only one of the audio channels seems to be working. So I'm not sure if that was...
Are you able to hear me, Bill?
I am, loud and clear.
All right, so let me paraphrase real quick. Kent gave you one of the greatest welcomes. You'll have to rewatch it because it was excellent. He says it was the best intro that he's ever given, and he was just sharing just how prolific you are and as an expert in community building, and he was sharing one of the original projects that you guys did together in terms of vertical community building. But we are just so excited to have you here on the show, and congratulations for being our very first live digitized guest. So we're very stoked to have you here, and also to show in real time that this works really well. But I don't know if you'd like to share with the viewers a little bit about yourself. Just we gave you an intro, but just who are you? What makes you so magical?
Absolutely. And I don't know that I'm all that magical, but I appreciate, Kent, the wind up and the positive affirmations. And just, through the power of serendipity, I noticed that Kent was streaming, stumbled onto the show. As I'll readily admit, I'm perched looking out the window, waiting for my Oculus Quest to roll up via UPS. And so I happen to have a couple of minutes of downtime. And stumbled into this wonderful conversation, was really interested in seeing how you all are, essentially simulcasting across multiple networks. And then, the cherry on top is that you're talking about community, or at least the part of the segment that I caught you were talking about community. For me, I don't consider myself so much a guru as a study of building virtual communities and networks. I've been doing it for a while. I was lucky enough to help launch techrepublic.com back in the late 90s with Kent, which was, as you alluded to, kind of my first big community experience at scale. And Ken, it struck me as you were talking about this sort of sense of knowing or sense of familiarity with meeting Kevin in person, right? the first time that it really clicked for me that virtual communities could be incredibly powerful was actually right after we launched Tech Republic, and we were all like working 24/7 basically. And so it was a couple of weeks after launch, and I was there later one night, and I noticed a conversation happening between two admins. They were trying to troubleshoot some Windows NT problem, right? And there was a guy, I think, in South America, and there was a guy on the West Coast, and they were talking back and forth about this configuration issue. And it occurred to me that we had brought together, the person having an issue with probably one of 5 people in the world that had the domain expertise to solve this problem, right? And so for me, like that's the platonic perfect model of community, if you will, is the network that in the most friction-free way possible matches necessary resources in real time to accomplish some sort of hopefully wonderful thing in the world. And so that's why I'm particularly stoked about being a community builder, especially in this day and age. And you all alluded to sort of the almost forcing function of mass collaboration over the last couple of months, right? Like everybody all of a sudden is a Zoom user, right? And we're looking for different ways to
Got to get that guy a wired Ethernet connection.
Yeah, and it always happens on the cliffhanger moments, right? It always happens on and the one thing is,
and we'll never know now. We're never gonna know.
We're never gonna know. Well, hopefully we'll get him back.
I'll try one more. I'll try one time. Let's see what happens here.
I'd love to ask him that question. But I loved what he just said there, which is if you think about a couple of the principles of creating the community going forward, and this is very powerful. I wrote down here, reducing friction and the ability to share resources. I would imagine where he was always also going was that the community is connecting around. He's back. Hi, Bill.
Hello. It's apologies for dropping out. Definitely not my production video setup today.
So I was just paraphrasing a couple things which I thought were fascinating, and you were at a cliffhanger moment when you dropped off. So let's see if we can bring you back in. But you were talking about I love the words you were using around that. If you think about community, like what's at the heart of a very successful community, this idea of reducing friction, which couldn't that be a better title right now of what is necessary for the community of our planet? I mean, if I go super meta for a second. But the second thing you said was the idea of shared resources. So reducing friction, for the community, shared resources, and then the idea of collaboration. I was imagining you probably we're about to go somewhere else with that as well. Were there any other major elements that you would share that from your learnings that are at the heart of what makes a really successful virtual community?
I mean, there are certainly different schools of thought, right, on what makes a community successful. I mean, ultimately, it's about what the group needs and sort of what they need over time. So there's this notion of defining purpose. I mean, in EXO terms, it's articulation of a massive transformational purpose and rallying, stakeholders around that purpose. And Carrie Melissa Jones, who's of this sort of new generation of community builders, just wrote a wonderful book called Building Brand Communities that came out like last week. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we're probably gonna end up skipping Bill on the. Yeah, because he's pretty consistent. He's dropping out periodically. I can do one thing to try to help out. Maybe I can turn down his resolution.
Should we try? We've also lost your audio, Kent.
Oh, sorry. I'm here. I'm still here.
Guys, again, I feel like I'm dropping so much that it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where
Thank you, Bill. Can you?
Well, Bill, let's plan it. Kent and I will plan it. Let's get you well set up. I think this will be a fascinating discussion. Part of what we were chatting about today, maybe we can plant a seed with you and actually schedule for the next show, have you come back in and we can go deep on something. We love to keep it free form here, but at least we can kind of cruise in on the topic. One of the things that we were chatting about today that we'll probably carry to next week is the concept of challenging beliefs. that right now there's no better time than ever to actually challenge assumptions and challenge beliefs. Our systems are being challenged, our way of thinking is being challenged, and we're taking this through a digitized lens, right? Which is we're breaking down old analog systems, old analog habits, old analog or at least operational, systemic systems that have got us and advanced us to the world we have right now. But the technology world and the digital world and the digitization of our planet it just cannot be thought about in the same mentality as what has come. And so part of this is challenging beliefs, challenging assumptions, breaking those things down. And I think as we are challenging, a community is being born out of this, which is why I think this is going to be such an interesting intersection of community and digitization and the challenging of perception of the future. So, I'm not sure if there's any thoughts on that, and hopefully you won't drop off, but we can also pick that up with you and go really deep about because this is all around unlocking your digital potential. And in this way, how do you unlock your digital potential and gain an epic community out of it could be one of those things.
I think that's a great idea. And I will say, I think I'm going to gracefully exit because for whatever reason, my system keeps dropping, and I'm sure that's obnoxious for the folks who are watching. With that said, one final thought. You absolutely teed up a beautiful conversation, because given the moment we're experiencing in the world, looking at it objectively, we shouldn't be having these, we have the tools, we have the circumstances to create great change at scale, right? So it's time to stop talking about it and start doing it. Part of the equation for success is technical, absolutely, but there are cultural implications, there are quality and justice implications, folks who haven't been seen, folks who have systematically been excluded from stakeholder conversations that are critical to make this global community that we're now able to build, and the smaller local and or topical and or other cross-cutting organizations that can spring up now. We have the table set.
Yeah, we're gonna, man, what a
that was at least a good exit. We have the table set.
That was awesome. We have the table set. I'm gonna transition Bill out of here. It's amazing experience bringing on our first guest, Bill.
Congratulations for those of you watching and rewatching. This was a digitized milestone. Well done, Ken.
That was fantastic. Totally all built, all that on the fly, by the way, to do that. I was not prepared for that today at all. So, but I love a challenge. So there we go.
What I love about this, so here, let's break it down. Let's just break it down for a second. I know it's obvious to people, but let's just break down what happened, because sometimes, it's like one of my good friends and one of our partners here at Be Courageous, Paul Roberts, says, he had this realization one day. He's flying on a plane over the Amazon, eating a piece of salmon, sitting in a business class and on Wi-Fi, writing some emails, and he had to take a moment and go, this is not normal. But it is something that we've just expect, right? It's just something that has kind of become the normal. What just happened right now isn't normal. It's not your everyday thing. Kent is in a location, I'm in a different location. We are pulled together in a digital format inside of a particular type of broadcasting software. That software is connecting through the internet to 5 or 6 different channels at the same time. It's going out to audiences that we can't see. We don't know who's watching unless they interact with us, but it's connecting with people. It connected with somebody to a point where they're resonating with the conversation. We planted the seed. Would you like to actually join us here? So wherever they are, we're able to get them onto an internet connection, send them a link that gets a digitized version of themselves, puts it onto a screen here, curated in a broadcasting software, and reroutes back out to all these different people, where we can have an epic real-time in-person conversation, obviously Wi-Fi pending, but it's like we're able to have an epic conversation, and that is done right here live. It is crazy. That is a belief challenge right there. That is a possibility demonstration right there. As these systems, and Kent has spent years just trying to crack the code, as these systems get easier, as more people want to actually apply themselves to do these kinds of things, to create content, put themselves out there, connect with people, bring thought leaders in. It's the same as right now, right? We can open up a browser that says Google, and you can go ask the question, blah, 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 and you'll get more responses than you'll have been able to go through in your lifetime back, like millions and millions and millions of responses. What we just did right now is like, hey, we have this idea to talk about community. Who's a thought leader in this space? Let's ping him and bring him into a show real quick, live and ready. And let's just have that conversation. I mean, literally within the space of 5 minutes, you're able to create a pretty extraordinary experience. Just think about what you could do for your business. Think about what they could do for your, personal narrative. Think about what they could do for the causes you support. Think about that for the ideas and the knowledge you've gained in your life of how you could actually get that out to more people. I mean, the possibilities are endless. It starts with challenging our beliefs. Ken, thoughts around that? I know you have many. I can see your brain working.
I got goosies. So to quote J Lo, I got some goosies.
That's good.
Yeah, man. That's if you've ever watched what is it the dance show that she was a judge on. But anyway, the point is like I thought that was incredible. One thing you didn't mention in your awesome summary was, and it doesn't matter where that person is if they can get a decent internet connection. That is a playing field leveler, right? And we did something today that was totally unique in all the episodes that we've done, and I think we just changed the show right here, right now. I want to do this every week. I want to spin up the queue, and I want to see if we can get people to call in. We may have to do a little bit more legwork on the front end marketing because you've got to get more people watching the show. So I will ask people to please do like it, share it, retweet it, subscribe it, click the little heart, whatever the thing is on whatever platform you're seeing this on. Please do that because that's what's going to allow us to pull people in. And next time, Kyle, I'm going to do something even more. One of the platforms I operate, it has a marketplace. I'm going to go into that marketplace and I'm going to post an opportunity for people to join the queue and call into the show. That should be interesting. We're running another show called Opening XO Live on LinkedIn where we did the same thing and we got enough applicants from the first batch. I think we're booked for a year. That show's going to run tomorrow. It runs every Thursday now, and we're using it to highlight members of the community, of that particular community, that are doing awesome things. And I'm super excited about that as well. But the other thing that I think is really interesting here is that the technology is actually not particularly easy. Okay, to do all of this right now. Right before the show, we had some. Kyle and I log into the show right now. Our goal is to do pre-show for 30 minutes before the show. And I actually start 30 minutes before that to turn everything on, double check everything, make sure everything works. And still, every time, it seems like there's always one thing. Today, it was one thing, and I had to completely reboot the entire studio to get everything to sync properly and then bring the show on. That happened, was it 6 minutes before the go live time? And that's just not, honestly, I'm happy when it works, but it's not particularly fun. And it's those types of challenges that need to go away. So I'm testing a number of other pieces of software and trialing them in different scenarios that start to bring some of these capabilities to more and more people. And Kyle, I think for one of the future shows, we'll actually do it live. We'll use one of these other pieces of software to see if we can't produce our show and see what happens. But you always give up something when you gain something. If you gain some ease of use, you might lose some capability in another area. I've found that to be true for everything. So making these tools purpose-built. But yeah, these are all the things that are going through my mind. Definitely a highly interactive and fun show today. We're up on time, so why don't you, again, as always, Kyle, my co-host, my partner in this, and I don't know, we coach each other through this for sure. So my coach, thank you again for a great show, and it was exciting today. So thank you, and thank you, Bill, for being brave and joining us. Take us out, Kyle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ken. Thanks for always also being able to experiment with this technology in real time. It helps to have a specialist on the side of the being able to fix the technical. I kind of sometimes feel like I'm on the A team, you know. I don't know if you remember that show from back in the day, the A team. They always get themselves into like a situation and then they always find the right stuff to get you out of the situation and make it epic. They always like win the day. It's kind of like that, which
Or
is great.
MacGyver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and MacGyver, exactly. Oh, MacGyver is a good one too. Thank you, Bill. Congratulations, and we'll ping you about getting some time with you as well to find out what's going on in your world, and give you some perspective from a digitized lens as well. So thank you so much for jumping in and making a groundbreaking moment. So we really hope you enjoyed today's show. For those of you watching live, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey that we've been on. We're having a lot of fun. We hope you're having a lot of fun. It's slightly different formatting in television and material than usual. It's a lot more free flow than curated. We love it that way. We hope you do too. Something a little different. We're also teaching you things and exposing you to things in real time, just like you saw today. So big milestone show today. We are digitized. This is about unlocking your digital potential. Nothing is off limits in terms of conversation. We are trying to push to help you to understand the opportunities that are in front of you to be able to go out and live and experience an extraordinary life, unlocking your digital potential, connecting with new people, getting your message out there, getting your businesses successful, going way beyond the boundaries that you ever thought were possible. So thank you again for tuning in. I'm Kyle Hermans, my co-host Kent Langley. Please click the subscribe button, the like button, share, tell your friends about this. We go live every week on Wednesdays at 10:30 PST. You can also watch all the replays down below. They go live. We don't mess with any of that stuff. You see raw, honest conversations here. So thank you again. Be safe. Have a great week. And we will see you guys again next week. Thank you so much.